The whispering walls of Blackwood Manor. The email arrived on a Tuesday, mundane amidst a deluge of spam and bills. It was an invitation, a proposition, shrouded in antiquated language and promising untold riches. All it asked was for me, Elias Thorne, a struggling historian with a penchant for the obscure, to spend 1 month cataloging the Blackwood family archives. Blackwood Manor. The name itself tasted like ash in my mouth. Blackwood Manor was infamous. Local legend painted it as a mausoleum of madness, a place where shadows danced with the living and sanity eroded like sandstone in a storm. The Blackwoods, once pillars of the community, had vanished decades ago, leaving behind only rumors of dark rituals and whispered pacts with something ancient. My better judgment screamed at me to delete the email, to bury the opportunity and run. But desperation, like a creeping vine, had wrapped itself around my heart. My research grant was running dry, my landlord was breathing down my neck, and the Blackwood estate was offering a sum that could set me up for years. So, I accepted. The drive to Blackwood Manor was a descent into a nightmare, painted in autumnal hues. The winding road, choked by gnarled trees that clawed at the sky, seemed to resist my progress. A thick fog, unnaturally dense for the time of day, swallowed the world whole, leaving me cocooned in an eerie silence, broken only by the rhythmic thump of my windshield wipers. Finally, it loomed into view, Blackwood Manor. A Gothic monstrosity silhouetted against the blue sky, its windows like vacant eyes staring into my soul. The stone walls were stained with moss and grime, and the air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. A rusted gate, adorned with snarling gargoyles, groaned open as I approached, as if welcoming me into its embrace. The housekeeper, Mrs. Gable, was a woman carved from granite and shrouded in perpetual mourning. Her eyes, deep-set and shadowed, held the flicker of something akin to pity as she led me through the cavernous entrance hall. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light that pierced the gloom, illuminating faded portraits of stern-faced Blackwood ancestors. Their gazes followed me, accusing, judging. The library, where the archives were housed, was a sanctuary of silence and decay. Towering shelves groaned under the weight of leather-bound tomes, their spines cracked and faded. The air was thick with the scent of aged paper and something else, something indefinable, but unsettling. I began my work, meticulously cataloguing the documents, letters, and diaries. Days bled into nights as I delved deeper into the Blackwood family history. I uncovered tales of ambition, betrayal, and a descent into something truly horrifying. The Blackwoods, it seemed, had been obsessed with the occult, with unlocking forbidden knowledge and harnessing powers beyond human comprehension. Their journals spoke of rituals conducted in the dead of night, of sacrifices made to appease something lurking in the shadows. Then, the whispers started. Faint at first, barely audible above the rustle of pages and the creak of the house settling. But they grew in intensity, weaving themselves into the silence, filling my mind with fragmented sentences, half-remembered horrors. Leave, they hissed, the sound like dry leaves skittering across a stone floor. Get out. You don't belong here. I tried to dismiss them as figments of my imagination, products of sleep deprivation and the oppressive atmosphere of the manor. But the whispers persisted, growing bolder, more insistent. I started seeing things too. Shadows flitting in the periphery of my vision. Faces glimpsed in the corners of my eyes. Objects moving on their own. I found myself jumping at every creak, every rustle, every flicker of light. One night, I awoke to find myself standing in the library, bathed in the pale moonlight filtering through the dusty windows. I didn't remember falling asleep. I didn't remember leaving my room. In my hand, I clutched the Blackwood family diary, open to a page filled with a chilling illustration, a grotesque figure with elongated limbs and glowing eyes, surrounded by symbols I couldn't comprehend. As I stared at the drawing, a voice, cold and ancient, echoed in my mind. "You are closer than you think," it whispered. Terror seized me. I slammed the diary shut and stumbled back to my room, locking the door behind me. But the feeling of being watched, of being hunted, lingered. The next day, Mrs. Gable seemed more distant, more guarded than usual. Her eyes held a deeper sadness, a knowing dread. I asked her about the whispers, about the strange occurrences. She simply shook her head, her lips pressed into a thin, disapproving line. "The Blackwoods were not good people, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "They dabbled in things best left undisturbed. This house, it remembers." That night, the whispers intensified. There were no longer fragmented sentences, but coherent phrases directed at me. They spoke of my fears, my insecurities, my deepest regrets. They knew me better than I knew myself. I barricaded myself in my room, pushing furniture against the door, stuffing blankets under the gaps. But it was no use. The whispers permeated the walls, the floor, the very air I breathed. Then I heard the scratching. A slow, deliberate scratching at the door, like fingernails scraping against wood. My heart hammered against my ribs. I held my breath, listening, praying it would stop. The scratching continued, growing more frantic, more insistent. And then, a voice, right outside my door, whispered my name. "Elias." I didn't answer. I couldn't. Fear had paralyzed me, turning me into a statue. The door creaked open, just a crack. A sliver of darkness, pregnant with unspeakable horror, seeped into the room. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing myself for the inevitable. But then, silence. A profound, unsettling silence. I opened my eyes. The door was still ajar, but the darkness had receded. The room was empty. But the air was thick with the lingering scent of decay and something else, something ancient and malevolent. I knew I couldn't stay. I had to escape Blackwood Manor before it consumed me whole. I packed my belongings, my hands shaking, my mind racing. I stumbled through the darkened corridors, my senses on high alert. Every shadow seemed to writhe. Every sound seemed to carry a hidden threat. As I reached the entrance hall, I saw Mrs. Gable standing by the front door, her face pale and drawn. "Leaving so soon, Mr. Thorne?" she asked, her voice devoid of emotion. "I can't stay here," I said, my voice trembling. "This place, it's not right." She nodded, her eyes filled with a strange mixture of pity and resignation. "I understand," she said. "Blackwood Manor never lets go of its secrets. And it never lets go of those who seek them." She handed me an envelope. "This is your payment," she said. "And a warning. Forget what you've seen here. Forget what you've learned. Or Blackwood Manor will come for you." I took the envelope and fled, running as fast as I could, away from the manor, away from the whispers, away from the darkness. I never looked back. I returned to my life, but I was never the same. The whispers still haunt me in my dreams. The faces still flicker in the corners of my eyes. I tried to forget Blackwood Manor, to bury the memories deep within my subconscious. But it was no use. It was always there, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to resurface. One day, I received another email. It was from an unknown sender, and the subject line read, "Blackwood Manor awaits." I deleted the email, but I knew it was too late. Blackwood Manor had claimed me, and I knew, with a chilling certainty, that it would never let me go. I sold everything I own and left the country, but still I hear it. Every night before sleep I can escape it. Blackwood Manor got me, and now Blackwood Manor has you too.